Nate, we were talking in between clips here about Sabbath, and shockingly, right? And about Sabbath sometimes being a form of resistance against a system that does not take kindly to the idea of Sabbath.
Mm.
Can you share a little bit for us what you were referring to there?
Yeah, I can try. So it just so happens that earlier today I was rereading Exodus again for I assigned it to a class I'm teaching, and so being the good instructor that I am, thought I should also do the reading. And it's interesting, if you read Exodus, the first time the uh, the Hebrew word Shabbat is used, it comes from the lips of Pharaoh, and it's in Exodus 5:5. I'm actually going to. I have my Bible sitting right. I just happen to have my Bible sitting right here. I'm going to flip open to it because I want to get the quote right here. But Moses and Aaron have gone to Pharaoh and they've said, let my people go worship God in the wilderness. Um, and Pharaoh's not taking kindly to this. Pharaoh continued, chapter 5, verse 5. Now they, the Israelites, are more numerous than the people of the land, and yet you want them to stop working. Stop there is the Hebrew Shabbat.
Mm.
You want them to Shabbat. And why? Because they're lazy. So this, for me, is something of the context of thinking about rest as resistance. Um, I think the notion of rest as resistance invites us into a careful consideration of empire, if we're thinking both of like the United States or Egypt, um, of any number of systemic forces, whether it be capitalism, consumerism, white supremacy, all the manifestations of systemic racism. Um, to there's a sense in which, as we face all of those things, at some level, what needs to happen with those things any more than they just need to stop, right? And so, is it possible, right, that our ceasing, our stopping, which is the root word or the root meaning of the term Sabbath, is a way to say we're not going to play that game. We're not going to bow to productivity or achievement or endless consumption or the highest GPA or fill in the blank. We're not going to bow to that as God, and that's what Pharaoh was after. Pharaoh was the demigod, or that's the godlike figure in Egypt. And of course, Pharaoh is threatened by this notion that this group of people would stop.
Mm.
So I think that there's something beautiful there. There's also a word of caution. The thing that's beautiful there is that it's this, I think it can be this very tangible act. Um, um, Even an activism, ironically, that is this stopping. But the word of caution, again, looking at the Exodus narrative, is that when we resist those sort of imperial powers, uh, it can get pretty ugly. It can get pretty messy. And so I think we have to be honest about that. And I think that when we stop our work and we feel the anxiety that we feel, some of that can be self-imposed, but a lot of it is, I think, the force of the systems that are imposed upon us that just keep telling us, why do you want to stop? It's because you're lazy. That's it. I take some consolation in, like, that's a really old line. It's been around a long time, but maybe there's something to it that guides a people into God's grace and a deeper identity, but also into a space that I think is much more ecologically attuned. I think the economics that grow from that are much more just. And I think there's a vision, again, of where it's not just rest for the ruling elite. It is rest for you and your children and those in the service industry around you, and the plants and the animals and the soil all around.
It's the community.
What's that?
The whole community,
The
right?
whole community, absolutely. The whole ecosystem. That's a powerful and convicting vision to me that I don't have all worked out, but I think there's something there to consider.
Thank you.